Straw Hut Media.
Hey friends, how you doing?
How you doing?
Welcome to the 85th episode of Release Date Rewind, a podcast that celebrates milestone movie and TV anniversaries. I'm your host, Mark J. Parker, and I'll be there for you if you also love TV and film like I do, especially old stuff that's celebrating a big anniversary. Thank you for listening to the show on the Straw Hut Media Network wherever you get your pods, or watching on YouTube. Each episode, I like to bring on a friend or two to discuss something we both love from the past. And sometimes we have a special episode about a television series. One of the biggest series ever, quite possibly the biggest sitcom ever, premiered 30 years ago in September 1994, totally owning the phrase must-see TV with its memorable lines and its stellar cast who all went on to become very famous and very rich. That's right, everybody. We are talking about Friends for its big birthday, the one where the show turns 30. Now, if you want to watch or rewatch old episodes, Friends is currently, and I guess forever, streaming in the US on Max. All right, roommates, neighbors, and smelly cats, let's chat over a cup of coffee because it's time to rewind. All right, live studio audience. Should we sing the theme song? Do you know the lyrics? I'm sure you do.
I'm sure I do too, but I don't think anyone wants to hear it.
You know, it's funny. I noticed that Courtney Cox in the lineup would often get the moment where it was the that moment in the theme song. Because it was alphabetical.
She was like supposed to be. It's an ensemble. It was always an ensemble, but she was kind of like the star at the time.
This cast is so great. I know some people, you know, like my husband Greg doesn't love the show, although he was laughing a little bit with me. He doesn't love the show. Some people I know are like, and I get it. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, whatever. But no, watching like these key episodes that we're about to get into, no, this cast was like, they are like cream of the crop. Tell me, Mel, well, first of all, I didn't even introduce my guest, everybody. We have Nurse Mel Ward back on the show. Nurse Mel is back. Hi, Mel. Thanks for coming back. It's a Tuesday morning while Gigi's out at, no, is she at preschool? Pre-K?
Yeah, it's preschool, but so she's only gone a couple hours. So we're limited on time, but yes.
So, you know, we're not going to talk about all 236 Friends episodes, everybody.
Yeah,
that would
although
be pretty
I could.
Wild. You could, absolutely.
Oh, you know what I was thinking? It's funny how every classic show now has a rewatch podcast, but
absolutely.
These guys
but
don't.
This one, because who would do it?
And this is actually one I would be wanting to listen to.
Oh yeah, I agree. I would listen to it because I would love to hear like an insider's look, but none of the remaining living main five now, that's very sad, would do it. No way.
No,
and then like maybe a guest star like who
no, I don't want
is
that,
a host,
though.
but yeah, like who would you want anyone to do it? You should do it.
The girls? No, I would want like Jen and Courtney.
Right. It would be so fun to actually have friends, like real life. I mean, they're
do
all
it,
real
like,
life friends, but
if they really retire from acting, but of course they're not.
I could see Courtney
like
out of
that.
all of them as the most. I mean, we share her videos often. She is such a like social media star, like she's very much out there coming up with ideas. I could see her hosting it well, but I think she's just too rich, and I don't know.
None of them need to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years if they're bored, but.
Is this your number one sitcom?
Oh yeah, sitcom wise, definitely.
Now, what about like number one show? Or maybe
I would say my number one show changes.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. If I had to pick one. It's hard.
Yeah. I know. It's hard. There's so many good ones, but this one
I think this one, yes, because unlike some other shows that I would also call out, it doesn't have like a season that I want to like entirely skip, except I would say maybe the first season. But as a whole, the show really is amazing from start to finish. Whereas other shows, they you know, they have a few like
dips. Yep. Lots of ups and downs.
Or they don't like land the ending. So Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say this is probably, to me, the best show, my favorite show of all time. That'll
And that's
stand
why
the
you're
test of
here.
time. Yeah.
That's why you're my guest. You're my friend's expert, my friend's spurt. But many shows, that does not happen. Many shows
Yeah.
after one season, after the first few, they dip,
Mhm.
Dawson's Creek, so many
Yeah.
shows. It's like the
Yeah.
key leader, takes a break,
Yeah.
goes elsewhere. So that's why they might.
Shonda Rhimes from Grey's Anatomy is not even there.
Right.
So
That's amazing. Grey's Anatomy. Speaking of, we're going to talk about some other shows real quick right now. But Grey's Anatomy, I just read, is now the longest running primetime medical series in history. So
I
it
guess
has
it's just
now
never gonna go off the air.
BER. I know. I guess not. You don't need your creator and you don't need your lead anymore. So
No, so they'll just keep
right?
going.
It's pretty amazing how they keep going. There are still ideas and that people still watch. It's amazing. I stopped a long time ago, but uh, you
Yeah,
know.
it's pretty ludicrous, but the most shocking thing is that people still watch it.
Well, speaking of, real quick of what we're watching, the Emmys, just as of this recording,
Mhm.
happened the other night. Big winners were Shogun, Hacks. I know you don't watch Hacks, even though
Mhm.
you should. Season 3 is. Talk about comedy, Mel. Oh my
I don't
God.
know. I didn't think it was
Laugh
funny.
out loud funny. Oh my God. Check it out, please, because it
I
is.
think I did the whole first season. I wasn't that into it.
You weren't into it? Oh, season
No,
3
I'm pretty
will
sure I
make
watched
you.
the whole season.
Season 3 will make you laugh till you cry and laugh till you cry laughing. Like, it is
Alright.
both
Well,
dramatic and hilarious. But Hacks won
anyway.
comedy. Do you watch Shogun? I didn't watch
Yeah, that was
Shogun.
really good.
Okay, I know you love history, so
Yeah,
maybe I gotta
that
check
was
it out because
great.
that was cleaning up as well. So yeah, we are fresh
I loved
off
that.
Emmys 2024. Now, surprisingly, this show, Friends, celebrating 30 years,
Mm.
came to NBC, premiered September 22nd, 1994. I am shooketh. I am shocked it only won 6 primetime Emmys in its 10 years. That
Mm.
seems kind of crazy. I mean, many shows win 6 Emmys in one night, you know?
Yeah. I think things, well, it was also, was it the era of Frasier still? Because that used to win
Fra
everything.
Yep, Frasier won a lot. Let's see. I'm trying to think of like what would have been its main competition for comedy. Will and
Seinfeld for a
Grace,
little bit.
Seinfeld, a little bit of crossover those early years. Yep, for Friends. Yep.
Oh,
Um,
Modern Family, right?
I don't think Modern Family started yet because this ended in 2004. We were still in high school. The Office didn't start yet. So
Mm.
like it's hard because Friends was just such a big deal that it's like, what could have even, beat it, but it got beat a lot. It only won 6
Well,
Emmys, so,
it goes
you
to
know.
show how those awards really don't matter because this is the show that
Isn't
stands
that
the test of
so
time.
absolutely, you hit
Yeah.
it on the head. It's, you might watch it, it's a big deal in the moment, but years later, you have
Mhm.
no idea who won, and
Yeah.
ultimately, that does not mean pop culture power, right?
No. Yeah.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
I would say the show feels more popular in these last few years, long after it
Mhm.
ended, than even when it aired, and it was hugely popular when it aired. Do you know what
Mhm.
I mean? It
I
only
know. Yeah.
grew
Yeah.
as younger people got older, like, it only grew. It's funny, every now and then when we have, like, a dog sitter or a friend visiting and we leave, Friends was the last thing watched on our Max app. It's
I
like,
think 'cause
wow.
it's just like a comfort show to everyone now.
Yeah,
It's like your
absolutely.
go-to if you don't know what else to watch or have on in the background.
Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it.
Before I throw it over to Mel and she's gonna tell us what the show is about for anyone truly living under a rock who maybe was just born yesterday, who might not know, I'm going to set the scene. I'm gonna tell you what was going on at this time 30 years ago, September 1994. So in the days leading up to Friends starting its 10-year run, these were also brand new, big TV shows. At September 94, it's crazy
Mhm.
how that TV season, like,
I actually remember it, if you can
well,
believe
yeah,
it.
that's why you're on, because I want you to tell me how, because I was not in the loop TV wise at this time. I guess I was like loving Jim Carrey movies. I don't know what I was loving, but it
Mhm.
wasn't these shows yet. So these
Mhm.
were the shows that had just premiered. Okay. Just days before ER, comparing
Mhm.
Grey's Anatomy to ER. I know you love
Yep.
ER as well. Do you want to
Yes.
give
Mhm.
a quick 5-second shout out to ER?
I mean, well, I wanna give a 5-second shout out to, like, maybe the first 8 seasons.
Okay. Okay.
Probably should have ended once George Clooney left.
Yeah,
Um,
was he on that long? He was on for
no,
longer
he
than we think,
wasn't. He was
but
on first 5 seasons, I
5,
think,
yeah,
but
4 or 5, yeah.
I still like a lot of the characters that are still there up until,
Yep.
like, season 8. Then it's just becomes like Grey's Anatomy where the main people leave and, like,
Yep, they're gone. Mhm,
but that was a revolutionary. I mean, some of the storylines were so, like, shocking at the time,
mhm,
um, and now have been
absolutely.
done by Grey's Anatomy. Like, there was a character on ER who was brought into the ER unrecognizable, hit by a train.
How
Then
funny.
they realize who it is because of his, I think, his beeper. They keep paging him, and then they're like,
Mm,
"Whoa, this is." It was that was like, but
yeah,
Grey's Anatomy did it like
yeah. How funny.
years
Grey's
later.
is just it's just a reboot, it's just a remake. How friggin' funny.
But the
Oh my god, I love
chemistry
that.
between George Clooney and Juliana Margulies
Really
is
mhm.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know we're not talking about ER, but
another right, but I when I saw these premiere dates, I was like, "Well, we have to talk a little bit about ER." It's crazy that NBC had these 2
two mega.
long-running
Mhm.
mega shows starting at the same time, like,
Well, that's why it
whoever
was
was
must-see
running the
TV.
network, right? Must-see
Yeah,
TV, exactly. Whoever was running NBC at the time, holy cow, you knew what you were doing. I'm sure there have
yeah,
been many CEOs and heads since then, but,
yeah.
yeah, another great cast, and late in the later years, the first time I mean, I did see Liar Liar in theaters with Maura Tierney, but this was when I
Mm,
really,
mhm.
like, was truly introduced to, like, Maura Tierney, and what a great actress, right?
Yep, I remember she was like, because she was kind of famous already, so she was brought on to replace or fill the void of Juliana Margulies when she was
Mhm.
leaving,
And
which was a big
that's
loss for the show.
big loss, but worthy replacement. I know she definitely pulled, her weight for a while on the
Yeah,
show,
and
you
then
know?
she does end up leaving. I was gonna say yeah, she doesn't
I
even
think
make it
she
all the way
left
to the
too,
end.
yeah. Yeah, in those last couple seasons when I would pop in and out, it was by then, yeah, faces much like now with Grace, faces I
I
don't
didn't
really know,
watch it,
so
but John Stamos ends up being in the end.
that's funny.
I
That's really
know.
interesting. Okay, talk about a guy
I
that
didn't
bounces
watch his
around.
season, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, yeah. But, so ER had just premiered, Party of 5 had just premiered,
Ah,
shockingly, a show
wow.
with a cast I another ca like, casting TV casting at this
Mhm.
time, everybody, cream of the crop, like,
Yeah,
A plus, the
yeah.
awards should have been given to these casting teams.
Mhm.
Talk about a cast I love, but a show I admit I've never watched a full episode of. Isn't that wild? Party of 5.
Yeah,
I've
'cause I
never
don't remember
watched
that
it.
first season personally.
Right? Like, I don't know what it is, but, I love so many of those people, but I was always like, "No." Like, it seemed maybe too moody, too heavy, too
It is pretty heavy. I don't think there's anything
it's
light about it.
maybe a little sappy. Yeah, so and
Slower.
especially at that
Mhm.
at that time, we were what? We were, like, 7? Well, yeah, 30 years
Yeah.
ago, so we were 7, shit. So,
Mhm.
yeah, at 7, I was not really caring too much about this family and their sweaters and,
I
but
think I saw all this because I had older siblings, so
yeah, of course, yeah,
that's why I
you're
also remember the first season of Party of 5.
not a long running show, but a really momentous show. My So-Called Life had just started a
Ugh.
couple weeks earlier. Big, big one season wonder. And
Mhm.
how funny, Mel. The same night it aired on Thursdays with
Oh.
friends, and
Mhm.
the same night My So-Called Life aired one of my favorite episodes of all time of any show, The Zit. That's the one. If anyone out there remembers, where, oh man, lover or hater, Claire Danes, the chin wiggle, the cry.
Hate.
I've talked about it before. I know you hate. We're going to talk about her
Yeah.
in a couple months when you have to come back to talk about Little Women for its 30th anniversary.
Oh,
So
boy.
keep that in
Well, I
mind,
actually
everybody.
do kinda like her in that role, but
Oh
that's
well, yeah,
about it.
she's perfect as Beth. I mean,
Yeah.
she just is a great dyer.
Yeah.
But no, with her red hair, Angela Chase in The Zit, a great episode where there's a mother-daughter fashion runway show in town.
Mhm.
All these shows back then, Dawson's, there was like a runway show. I'm like, what? That didn't happen a few years later as we were growing up
Yeah.
in
The
Morristown,
OC.
New Jersey. But no, it's just such an emotional episode, and Angela does not feel pretty enough.
Mhm.
And oh my, and Return to Innocence, that song plays, and it's just an excellent episode. So how crazy, same night in
Yeah,
television,
big
these
TV year.
big
Mhm.
TV year, right? So that's what was happening on the TV side. On the music side, the number one song on the Billboard chart was "I'll Make Love to You" by Boys to Men.
Oh,
That was a,
wow.
that was a big one. Yep. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And
Does
then
not feel
other,
like that's the same time.
I know, right? Does
Yeah.
that seems later to me than this? Do
I
you
don't know,
agree,
it
or
just
does it
doesn't
seem?
fit in the same world as Friends to me.
Yeah, and it's so interesting in the early '90s as I was looking at the Billboard chart, like, a lot of Black artists really were popular, so
R&B.
it's
Mhm,
a lot of R&B, exactly, like, early
mhm.
'90s, people loved R&B, and of
Yeah,
course, it came back
it's
here and
good
there,
stuff.
but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, super memorable, Boys to Men, and
Mhm.
then, just the popular movie was a movie I don't really know that well, Time Cop? I think it was with Jean-Claude Van Damme, an
Yeah, I
action
don't know
sci-fi
it.
movie, that was
Mm-mm.
number 1 for a couple weeks, and another this is a movie I still to this day have never seen. I don't know how I'm doing this podcast and I never saw The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, wow.
I know I'm embarrassed to admit that. Maybe I'll delete
You
that.
just have to do that
I
immediately.
know, right? I know. Later today. Okay, I'll by
Well,
the time this is out, I've watched it,
you're in
but
for a
that was
treat.
about to hit. I've heard nothing but good things, so, there's a lot of hype 30 years
Yeah.
later, so
So I
I
don't
hope
know,
it
it's a lot to live up to at this point for
I
you, but
I hope it is as good as all the hype for sure. So yeah, Shawshank came out, well, it was about to come out the next day in
wow.
limited theaters and become obviously a massive, massive movie that only I
Mhm.
have not seen. But we'll be right back.
I don't want to be single, okay? I just want to be married again.
Tell us in your own words for anyone out there. It's a pretty simple story, but what's like the basic little log line plot of Friends? What's it about?
Yeah. It is about 6 singles in their early 20s, living in New York City, trying to just make their way into adulthood, essentially. And they're doing it together. They're really close friends. They're like family. And it's just, we're seeing them basically over the 10 seasons grow up from young adult to middle age ish. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
by the
basically from
time it
like
ends, people are married, they're having kids,
they're
and
moving. Mhm.
yep. So I think that's why it really, in a way, touches a lot of people because it's a stage in life that we all basically go through at one point. When you're younger
Absolutely.
watching it, you're like looking up to them, like
Mhm.
thinking like this is your 20s. And then when you are at the same age as them, you relate, you're living it. And then looking back, it's nostalgic. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so in a nutshell, that's what it is. But Joey and Chandler live across the hall from Monica and Rachel, so they're
Mhm.
neighbors. They're all, there's a reason why they all hang out. Monica's brother Ross is best
Mhm.
friends with Chandler. Ross has always been in love with Monica's best friend Rachel.
Mhm.
Rachel and Monica grew up together, so they're all have long histories together. And as we all know, what makes the show so amazing is the chemistry between all the actors.
Absolutely.
There's nothing like it. I can't think of a show that has
Right?
this
That has
magical chemistry between all 6.
absolutely, between all the leads, you're right, and
Mhm.
how lucky were we also that they, like, actually love each other, and that
Yeah.
they even I was reading about salaries because of course, everyone,
Mhm.
if you know Friends, you know that by the last season, they each were making $1,000,000
Yeah.
each, and how they were kind of the first, or at least an early, very famous group to go to the network together,
Yeah.
as a group and say, "We should be paid equally." Because that doesn't
So
happen on TV shows,
yeah.
you know?
Apparently
Yeah.
that was, they all attribute that to David Schwimmer. He was
Wow, I remember
after,
hearing
like,
that.
the 1st season, he was kind of emerging as kind of
Mhm,
obviously it's an ensemble, but like more of
mhm,
a lead, like the A
mhm,
stories, I guess, would be his. And
mhm.
after the 1st season, when renegotiating and whatnot, it was his idea to say, guys, let's all go in together and say, if you want one of us, then you have to have all of us at the same pay rate.
Amazing. Mhm.
And that's basically what started it and what I think was one of the key factors to this show's success because that kept everyone united. It didn't create any weird
Yeah,
animosity. No one wanted to leave. And that's why I think it was also so successful and stands the test of time
yeah,
because they all
absolutely.
banded together. There's really no drama behind the scenes.
Yep.
And they were a unit and it really works on camera.
You bring up a good point that with so many shows, especially longer running shows, there's always usually drama, like 2
Something that
people did
happens. Yeah.
not get along. But you're so
Hmm.
right, the only drama I would say sadly was Matthew Perry's addiction
Yeah. And
issues,
even
right?
in that, they all like came together to try to help him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
he
maybe
would
it's because
say,
they had such a meteoric rise to
mhm,
popularity with the show early, like, it didn't take long for those first few
yeah, it was
episodes to
immediate.
become
Hmm.
that maybe, yeah, like, luckily they all held on to each other rather than,
Yes.
sorta have,
Hmm.
like, side even with the with Courtney and Jen being, like, such best friends where Jen is the
Hmm.
godmother to Courtney's daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they are close, but even
Hmm.
that, like, they still, yeah,
The
absolutely.
other thing is the writers never tried to, make one character
Mhm.
above anyone else. They used to actually like keep track of the jokes that they would give each person and
Yeah.
make it even throughout every episode. So I think that's another reason why everyone is just so funny because the writers paid special attention to that kind of thing where they did make it really fair and everyone
Absolutely.
has their moment in every single episode, I would say.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting, and that makes sense. Some writer's assistant was probably counting the
Yeah.
jokes on a board and making sure they all were equal. Out of the 6, obviously, they're all equal, and I also read that, they always wanted to do, like, magazine covers together, very rarely at
Mm.
least in the early years, of
Mhm.
course, because then yeah, like Jennifer, pretty much all of them, but especially Jennifer and Courtney, started having big movie careers as well,
Yeah.
and Matthew Perry
Yeah.
was
He
doing
had a really
lots of
hot streak. Mhm.
absolutely, yeah,
Oh,
but,
I think I read he was the only or he is maybe the only actor so far to have a number 1 TV show and a number 1 movie at the same time with the whole
wow.
9 yards.
Yes, those that movie and then its sequel, that was a big deal for sure. That's
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, love that. And then that had to happen, I guess, also with Courtney, because then, like, Scream 2 was number 1, and yeah,
Mhm.
going back to the Emmys, I think it only won 1 Emmy for Outstanding Comedy, and that was later in season 8. So
Wow.
interesting. Yeah, right? How it didn't
Mhm.
come out of the gate, it was always nominated, but it didn't win Best Comedy until later.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now out of the 6, obviously they're all equal, and for the Emmys, I read that they always submitted themselves as supporting, which was interesting. So they always were kind of like competing with each other, which is interesting.
Mhm.
But out of the 6, would you say are the leads Ross and Rachel?
Not to me, no.
Okay. Oh, I love this because I feel like, with the finale, and all that, like it sort of seems like
Yeah,
okay. But are there leads, or in your mind they're really everyone's equal?
they are pretty much equal, I would say, except maybe Joey and Phoebe are more supporting.
Yeah.
I would
I
say
agree.
that Monica, Chandler, Ross, and Rachel are more central,
Yeah.
but they all are essential to the show being successful.
Mhm.
Like, they're all
Mhm.
hilarious. Like, there's not one character that I'm like, "Ugh, I hate when they're on screen,"
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Oh, no. I completely agree. And it
There's
is
no
funny.
one that I ever, like, fast forward through an episode. With
No.
other
Oh
shows, I
my
definitely do
gosh.
that. No.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny.
But yeah, in
Yeah.
terms of, I think, probably character development and just what happens to them throughout the show, those Monica and Chandler to me are the number ones, but
Love
I
that.
know the rest of the world probably would say Ross and Rachel, yeah. I was
I
never into Ross and Rachel.
Oh, that's so funny. I love
Yeah.
that. Phoebe always made me laugh out loud. Lisa
Mhm.
Kudrow is and it's funny because
Hilarious.
she, out of the 6 actors, seems to have been nominated and awarded the most, which
Yeah.
is, again, funny because, like you said, I agree. They definitely are the more B, C storylines. Rarely were Joey and Phoebe the main, you know,
Mm.
interesting
Yeah.
storyline, right? But, Phoebe always made me laugh to the point where when I had a TV in my room upstairs and my mom would be upstairs, on Thursday nights, I'd be sitting there laughing and
Mhm.
she'd be like, "What are you laughing at?" And it was always something Lisa Kudrow said. So, you
So
know,
funny.
they're all
Oh
amazing,
my
but
god.
Lisa always got
Mhm.
me. But no, I love that because to me, Chandler and Monica were kind of the most interesting, dynamic, like a smart kind of humor, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like
Mhm.
a jabby, like reactive kind of humor,
Yeah.
whereas the others, like they're also funny, but rewatching Jennifer Aniston to me is maybe the most kind of like oh kind of humor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That is, like,
They're all
witty.
pros, but yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I watched a little bit of the reunion special that aired on Max. I didn't get through it. And also, I just kind of stopped it. But it was
Yeah.
so weird in the beginning having the actors walk through the set because when I watch a show, like all of us, we kind of go back to a time when it was knew and when we were
Mhm.
younger, and like to me these are real places. This is a real
Mm,
coffee
mhm.
shop. This is a real
Mhm.
apartment, even though it's so obviously not. But just
Right.
seeing them go from like a few feet away is then Central Perk and then the apartment, I was like, oh no, this is weird. This is like
Yeah, kind
I
of,
don't
like,
want to see
ruins
that.
the illusion. Yeah, yeah, I
Right.
hear you.
Like when they
Mhm.
walk into that hallway, there are really stairs that go somewhere else. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah,
We
it's
don't need to
weird.
see that it's not real. Yeah.
Right. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." And, I just remembered, and it's so funny that I don't think you got to do this, but I feel like we met up that day for a walk. Greg and I went to, the Friends pop-up in New
Yeah.
York, and you never got a chance to do it, right?
No,
Which is
there
so funny because I should have
now
given you, like, my ticket.
I don't think it's a pop-up anymore. I think it's there,
No.
like,
Oh,
permanently.
is it there permanently? Oh,
There's now, like,
wow.
a Central Perk thing
No way.
in New
How
York.
funny. Have you gone?
But no, I don't wanna go again because
Mm,
it's like, I
yeah.
wanna believe that that's a universe that exists, really. Like, I
Yeah.
don't wanna go
Yeah.
look at a
Yeah.
fake thing of it,
And
personally.
also, like, as kids and teens, even when we were in high school, like, obviously, you kinda know it's a stage, obviously, it feels like a play. That's why, like, with these sitcoms, sometimes I think, like, "God, these actors are so good, like, why didn't they do more theater? Because this was, like,
Yeah.
almost like true theater,
Yeah, I
memorizing
know.
long chunks and with the crowd and everything. But,
Yeah.
yeah, even as a teen, you forget that, like, it's all a set even when they're sometimes outside in a car or whatever,
Mhm.
you just
Mhm.
believe that this is New York so that later when I was like, "Oh, it was all filmed in a stage in LA?" Like, oh,
Mhm.
weird.
I know.
That's not right.
I just saw, Lisa Kudrow say in an interview how much she hated the live audience.
Yeah, what do you make of that? I read that too, that why
I
what
agree. It's probably really annoying for an actor, and
what
I'm well, would never happen nowadays with,
mm,
social media, but it is
mm,
shocking to me that they used to film this like, these big season finales in front of an audience,
mhm.
and
I
they
know,
always
yeah.
had, like, some shocking element. I just can't
Some
believe that that's
dramatic
how they
moment.
used to do things.
Yeah, I know, that's why I'm like, "No, you guys were basically doing, like, televised theater." You
Yeah,
had a crowd that then you kinda had to pause a couple seconds for the laughter.
yeah.
Here's the crazy thing, laugh tracks are, like, annoying, especially nowadays, we rarely ever
We
get
don't
them,
have them
but
anymore. Mhm.
rewatching these key episodes, I have to say something that's kinda crazy. I actually appreciated the laugh track. It made me um, giddier. It made me, like when Brad Pitt comes out in that Great Thanksgiving episode
Uh-huh.
and the screams, like you can hear like the mics are almost blown out from the screams. It adds to the nostalgia. It adds
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
and some of these laughters and with Monica and Chandler and everyone finding out and
Mhm.
like some of these key moments that are Friends in a nutshell, I actually did like it's the jokes that aren't so funny where, you're
Mm.
just smiling that I'm like, "Okay, why are they being forced to laugh?" Like,
Mhm.
stop, So, I could see that being annoying, but yeah, that is interesting she said that. But she's such a smart comedian that, yeah, I could see that sometimes maybe distracting her, taking her
Yeah.
out of it, you know?
Right.
Right,
Or
yeah.
she would say, like, "Things aren't it's not that funny, like, can we gotta keep going."
Yeah, she's like, "Okay, let's get to the good line
Yeah.
coming up. You guys have to stop." Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, it definitely
yeah.
makes sense.
Phoebe Buffet.
How do you spell that so we can get it right?
Oh, okay. It's P as in Phoebe, H as in Hebe, O as in Obie, E as in Eb, B as in BB, and E as in hello there, mate.
So it was created by David Crane and Marta Kaufman, and the executive producer along with them was Kevin S. Bright. And you might know this already, Mel, so shout it out. But I was reading that other titles for the show when they were developing it and figuring it out: Insomnia Cafe, Six of One, and
Heard
Friends
that.
Like Us, which
Mhm.
then cut down to just Friends.
Mhm.
So went through some title changes, but I mean, sometimes the most simple title
Yeah.
is best for the show and best for longevity. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm. Yes.
simple, Friends, right? Like,
Yep.
right? It works,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Wish me luck. What for? I'm gonna go get one of those job things. Guess what?
You got a job?
Are you kidding? I'm trained for nothing.
Let's start talking about some of these key episodes. So everybody, let me
Yes,
just
definitely.
tell you how we got to these episodes. So Mel and I were trying to figure out, like we said, 236 episodes. How do we talk about, we've talked about TV on this show before. Do we focus only on season one? No, there's so many great key episodes through the 10 years, right? So
Mhm.
we combined lists. the top 25 Friends episodes from Entertainment Weekly. Mel brought up Entertainment Weekly. I also saw Rolling Stone, and the top 10 episodes from Max, which of course the episodes are all on Max. So I thought, let me kind of cross-check all three of those lists and find the episodes that are the most popular. And so we found 7 episodes that are on all three top 10 lists. And then, of course, we'll talk about the very first episode that introduces this world to us, and the big finale, which was watched by 52 million people at the time. Nothing is watched by that live anymore.
Crazy.
Isn't that wild? Crazy. So we'll talk about the beginning and the end, in between, and then Mel's going to shout out, since she's such a expert of this show, she's going to shout out any other honorable mentions, we'll call them. Now, Mel, real quick before I get into it, did you start watching the show with the first episode?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, you were 7, so what do you think drew you? Was it
I think
your
it was
siblings?
just on. Yeah, it was on at home.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the magic of the show, that it somehow was funny to me
even
at that
a kid.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Even though
Wow.
I'm sure obviously certain things I wouldn't have understood,
Right.
but certain things I did understand and thought the show was really funny. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it was funny throughout my whole life, and I still think it's funny today. And it is funny or crazy that I used to watch it at such a young age, because it does have like sexual elements.
I have to say, and I'm not, super duper prude, but rewatching these key episodes, sex is like a main storyline for many of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's funny, things going over our heads, definitely at 7 for season 1, but even in later seasons, like rewatching these episodes, I'm like, I didn't realize that's what they were talking about. Like,
Yeah.
even when you're a teen, so yeah, it's pretty amazing. But yeah, sex and romance and like trying to like get lucky, like that's a big part, but also it's a big part of your life in your 20s, so it makes sense,
Yeah.
late 20s and all that. So all right, everybody, let's start at the very beginning. On September 22nd, 94 is when the first episode started, and that one was called The One Where Monica Gets a Roommate. It's a theme that really works well, and I feel like very few shows have like a naming theme like that, this is pretty unique that way.
Now
The
it's
One.
like a Friends thing. The One.
Yeah, and it's so smart. It's so smart on the writer's behalf, because we all talk about that. Like, oh, did you see that episode? The one with, the one where that happens to,
it actually is very helpful in like remembering which episode it is.
Right. So let's talk briefly about the first episode, the one where Monica gets a roommate. So this is where, most of our group is assembled, but in comes Rachel in the wedding dress, in Central Park. So she's sort of the last to enter this group. It's funny. I always remember that Monica and Ross are brother and sister, siblings, but I forget, that Rachel and Chandler are also from their high school days. So really the 4 of them kind of know each other. It seems like Chandler went to a different high school than the other
he went to a
3.
different high school. He met Ross in college.
In college, right. That's what it is. Yes.
So that was like his college roommate, best friend.
Right. So they have a history. So then Joey and Phoebe just kind of, I forget, because Joey lives with Chandler, but
so that's how he comes in.
How does Phoebe get into the group? You remember?
Well, I've seen interviews where they've talked about the character of Phoebe, and they're like, well, how is this person friends with them? And they just said, she's friends with them because we say she is. Like,
okay. Yeah.
She's there because she is.
That's so funny.
But basically,
so it's a mystery.
They have written it that Phoebe used to live with Monica.
Oh, okay. That, you know what? And that is so New York. I know people that used to be a roommate, even just for a few months with so-and-so, and now they're like good friends, right? That is so New York. I love that. Okay.
But I guess that's how they met her, but
that works.
If you think about it, why is Phoebe in this group?
And we rarely spend time in Phoebe's apartment in the long run. Like, I feel like we're not there
later.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of ends up being a joke in the later seasons when Rachel needs to live with her, because Phoebe says something like, yeah, now my roommate Denise moved out. And they're like, what? Who's Denise? So they kind of make a knowing joke about it, that we don't know much about Phoebe's life. We've never seen her apartment until later.
Yeah, so apartments, like you said, Mel, are right across the way. So we're introduced to apartments. We're introduced to Central Perk. What do you think of the first episode? Is it a worthy pilot?
Yeah, I mean, it explains everything that we need to know to set up at least the first season. I never really rewatched the first season or really the
Yeah.
first 2 seasons.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't like a lot of I mean, I think it's season 2, I wanna say. I'm not sure because I didn't really rewatch it, but the
Mm.
monkey, Marcel, is it
Oh,
annoying?
okay. Yeah. Wait, I remember Marcel, but what's the story there? Does who
That's just
has
Ross's monkey.
that's Russ's monkey. Okay.
They
Yeah,
end
yeah,
up getting rid of him because working with a monkey is annoying.
yeah.
Guys, there's somebody I'd like you to meet.
Wait, what is that?
That would be Marcel. You want to say hi?
No, I don't.
There's a really funny episode actually where Ross gets Joey a job at the museum. And it starts there's like divide in the museum between like, the paleontologists versus like the people that give tours. And
Oh,
they can't sit at the same table and so
yeah.
you see it depends on the storyline, but we
Yeah.
go to their workplaces occasionally.
Yeah.
Ongoing joke about Chandler's workplace is that no one really knows what he does.
Right, right.
Um,
And Rachel, at least in the later years,
oh yeah.
is sort of like PR, right?
I don't
Or am I
think they
wrong?
say exactly, but she does work in fashion. So at one
In
point she works at
fashion.
Ralph
Okay.
Lauren.
Right.
She
Yeah.
gets a job at Bloomingdale's and
Oh,
then Ralph
that's right. That's
Lauren.
right. That's right. Yes, exactly. I remember now. I remember things from a long show like this, but especially with TV, I like Mel has like a great TV memory. It's bits and pieces. Like it's like an image but I don't remember what connects like
Mm,
that image of Marcel, you know? So some of these moments as we talk about, I'll let you know when I'm like, "Oh, I remember that very well."
yeah.
But then many of this I'm like, what who's that? What's that?" You know? So, but anyway, no, I thought it was interesting rewatching the first episode. There's a big breakup theme because obviously
Oh yeah.
Rachel has left her wedding. She's left
Mhm.
Barry. Ross just broke up with a woman who actually is a lesbian,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
this is when Ross, right off the bat, right in the first episode, Ross admits that he had a crush on Rachel in high school. So setting the seeds
Yeah.
for a
First.
long will they
Mm.
or won't they, which always is. Isn't it funny how will they or won't they will just always be a good storyline for TV?
Yeah, maybe I don't it's probably not the original, but I feel like that's the standard for will they or won't they? Or on
Probably
again, off again
on again, off
is
again. Will they or won't they? Yeah,
Ross and Rachel. Mhm.
absolutely. Yep, yep, and so it ends with Rachel getting a job at Central Perk. Um, yeah, and that's basically that. Any now that
Yeah.
was the out of the lists, season 1, like you're saying, Mel, season 1 wasn't even really a common denominator on the list. So, yeah, maybe season 1 didn't have the strongest episodes. Were there any before we move over to season 2, any season 1 memories that you wanted to shout out or you're good with season
No,
1?
I really
Yeah.
don't like season 1. I don't like the way
Okay.
anyone looks.
Yeah. And you know, it's so funny rewatching these highlights from season 1 to season 10. It's also amazing how this was at a time of technological advancement. So like
Yeah.
the clarity, the
Yeah.
quality, and also like the hair care, you
Yeah.
know, because obviously everyone, you know, the Rachel and
Yeah.
Jennifer's hair was like the seventh character, right?
Yep.
But yeah, just seeing everyone change. That is to
Yeah.
me the most fun of watching and rewatching a TV show is just seeing how the little changes. Like I feel like you
Mhm.
can't be on a TV show if you're not changing a little something. If you're not gaining or
Mhm.
losing weight or a
Mhm.
slight haircut, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, it's always part of the fun. Well, we have 2 episodes that were common denominators on those lists, and they are, I have to say, they are pretty
Yeah,
damn funny.
classics.
They are
Mhm.
really classic. Wow. So the
Mhm.
first in season 2, episode 7, the one where Ross finds out.
I'm with somebody else. I'm happy. This ship has sailed.
Okay, so what are you saying? You can just sort of put away feelings or whatever the hell it was that you felt for
Hey,
me.
I've been doing it since the 9th grade. I've gotten pretty damn good at it.
All right, fine. You go ahead and you do that, all right, Ross?
fine.
I don't need your stupid shit. Good.
Yeah, this ends with Ross and Rachel kissing at Central Perk at night. Big moment, like in the
Oh, yeah.
list of
Mhm.
shots of Friends through the years. This is definitely one of them while it's raining, right?
Yep.
So
Mhm.
that's a big one for the Ross and Rachel storyline, of
Yep.
course.
I think of the line when he's listening to her voicemail and he's like, "You're over me? When were you under me?"
When were you under me? Yes, big line. And see, that's what I mean. Sometimes it is funny to have the laugh track because it's like almost like a reassurance that like, oh yeah, that's a big line. You know, like
Mhm.
half of it's annoying, but half of it is like, you just kind of lean into it and, that's a
Yeah.
big line. Absolutely. I wrote this quote, real quick, we'll just say, of course, this was a different time. And there are some jokes and
Things that
storylines
don't age well.
that are pretty cringe, that don't age
Yeah, of
well. We'll talk
course.
about this coming up, so that's just par for the course. But a line I thought was funny was Phoebe, I believe, is trying to like get it on with a date. I don't even know if we really see him in this episode. I think she just talks about him, but I believe it's Joey who says, well, maybe he drives his car on the other side of the road, if you know what I mean. And I thought that was very clever. I thought that was
Yeah,
a fun
actually.
way to wonder if maybe he's not into women, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cute. But yeah, this
Mhm.
is where Rachel's jealous of Ross's girlfriend and they're getting a cat, I
Mhm.
believe, right? Yep. And
Right.
the drunken voicemail. She
Mhm.
needs closure.
I am over you. And that, my friend, is what they call closure.
And meanwhile, Chandler and Monica aren't together yet, but they're working out together. Monica's trying to get
Oh,
Chandler in shape.
guess
Yeah,
what?
what do you think? Yeah.
That episode is why they ended up putting those two characters together ultimately,
Oh.
because they saw that they had such great chemistry and they were like, "Oh, this is interesting." Originally,
Wow.
that was not the plan to bring them together. Um,
Interesting.
but
Oh,
they
that's
did
good
that.
trivia.
They had that episode, and then the writers kind of kept that in the back of their mind, like how good those two were chemistry wise.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what ultimately led them to putting them
Wow.
together. But then them being together, long term was something that evolved. It wasn't always the plan. It just like
Mhm.
kept working, so they kept building on it.
Wow, that's so interesting. I love that trivia. Yeah, they're so
Mhm.
fun together. And how funny. It's a pretty momentous episode as one couple is having a big moment,
Mm,
another couple is slowly kind of starting
planting the seed,
their
yeah.
journey together. Yeah, really
Mhm.
good. Yeah, that's where Chandler does not really want to work out, but
That is actually
it's
that is
cute.
really funny. I like that storyline.
And at the end, he uses her unemployment because she's been
Yeah.
fired and her singleness against her to
Yeah,
kind of
so
make her
she's
sad to take a
yeah.
nap. Really awful, dark,
Uh-huh.
but really cute, really cute. So then fast forwarding a little later in season 2, episode 2, I'm sorry, season 2, episode 14, the one with the prom video. This one,
Classic.
I have to say, is so funny.
Yeah,
So funny. Like some of the writing
really
sometimes
is.
in these
Mhm.
episodes, perfection. So this
Mhm.
one, oh my gosh, do you remember this one, Mel? You want to kind of
Yeah, of course, of
tell us
course.
some memories of it?
So they're going through Monica's parents have dropped off a bunch of her
Mhm.
old stuff because they're getting rid of it, and they're going through it. There's a VHS of prom, and as we said, Monica and Rachel were high school best friends,
Yep.
and back then Monica also was overweight. So we
The fat suit,
watch this
yep.
video, so we get to see her overweight. We get to see how dorky she is. We get to
So funny.
see, I guess it would be 80s fashion.
I guess so, yeah,
Um,
because if they're, like, supposed to be 25-ish, yeah, like late '80s probably, yeah, mhm.
yeah. But basically, what happens in the prom video is Rachel
Oh,
sees that Ross was willing to, kind of step in and be her date, and he was really nervous about it. But then at the last minute, Rachel's date did show up, and because of that whole thing, whatever fight they're in, they come back together. So again, on
mhm,
again, off
mhm.
again. And then
Yes,
there's a famous line from that one where Phoebe says, "She's or he or
she
she's your
she
lobster."
she's
Hmm.
your lobster, uh-huh,
Yeah.
she tells Ross that, in the coffee shop. Yes, she's your lobster, another key line, and so cute because then her point is that they, like, lock claws and walk
Hmm.
around the
Well, they
tank
talk about it
together.
earlier in the episode, but yeah. And then
Yep.
there's another classic line. So since Monica's so overweight, when she starts playing the video, everyone's like shocked at how fat she is. And she's like, "Stop, the camera adds 10 pounds." And then Chandler goes, "Okay, well, how many cameras are actually on you then?"
Oh my god, I laughed out loud. Such a
Yeah,
good
that's such a
line.
great line.
Some girl ate Monica.
Oh my
And
god,
he's
it's
just,
so mean, but so funny. And Monica takes it like a champ. She just kind of like gives him a look. It's not a fight, right? So funny. Oh my god. And just and Rachel's old nose.
What is with your nose?
They had to reduce it because of my deviated septum.
Okay, I was wrong. That's what they used to cover Connecticut.
and Ross is like Jerry Curl, I guess. The curly hair. Really great episode. And like you're saying, it's touching. It's really touching seeing Ross, with the help of his parents. I love the actors that play Ross and Monica's parents. Elliot Gould and Christina Pickles. Love them. They're so much fun. But Dad's urging Ross, like, come on, buddy, like help Rachel out because her date isn't showing up. And he gets ready and oh man, it did give me like chills because it's like, oh, he's so sweet and she's watching. And then I believe, is this when she gets up? Yeah, and she just goes right to him and kisses him right there in front of everyone. So that's when everyone kind of finds out like, oh, wow, okay, like, things are really happening, And meanwhile, a B or C storyline in this episode that's really funny and also a little touching is Joey gives Chandler that ugly gold bracelet. Do you remember that?
Oh my
That's
God,
in this episode.
that happened. That is amazing. Yeah, this is a great episode.
It's a great episode. Like this is sitcom history, right?
Oh my God, that is so funny.
That's that's written on it like, you're my best buddy or something like that, right? And Chandler hates it. It's awful.
He loses it and then he needs to buy it again. It
turns a woman away, like she's into him, and then he goes up to her and he flashes it and she's like, I actually have to go. And also a really random line. He goes up to her and he says, I know what you're thinking. Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's. Just a random, really random funny line. But yeah, he hates this thing. He loses it. Joey has already overheard that he hates it. So Joey's feelings are hurt, right? And then he goes and buys, like, I think it costs like $400 or something. I forget the amount. Yeah. He buys a replacement, but then they find the original at the coffee shop, right? So then he thinks that it's for Joey so that it's their friendship bracelet. So funny. So
funny. I forgot about
that. Great little drama between the two of them for sure. Yeah. Up there, A+ in the history of sitcoms for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So everybody, we're going to fast forward to season 3, episode 2. Oh, we're going to talk about Richard in this one. Another, for me, top tier comedy episode. This one feels like a play to the point where I looked up the script and I kind of want to like do it in like a one of my adult acting classes. I want to like get 6 actors and just work on this whole, because it's all in real time, which I love that anyway. I usually love when an episode or a movie can do that. All in just the apartment. This was called The One Where No One's Ready.
Change.
Hang on a second, I just got in.
Look, I don't care. It starts at 8. We can't be late.
And he could not, would not want to wait.
Love this episode. Yeah. Classic, right? You want to tell us, Mel, what do you remember of this one? They're all in the apartment.
Well, Ross has a special like award show or something at the museum. Yeah, gala. And he's invited all of his friends. And so they're all getting ready for this. Well, supposed to be getting ready. Ross is ready to go. He's freaking out about leaving. Nobody's ready. They all have their own like personal dramas that are preventing them from getting ready. Monica's upset. This episode is so funny.
It's also stressful. This episode stresses me out because I feel like I've been there with Ross where you're gathering people and you gotta go, and then everyone's like you said, has different drama.
Monica checks her voicemails and hears something from Richard. She doesn't know if it's recent or old, so she's spiraling.
Yep.
She gets herself into a huge mess, like listening in on calling into his voicemails and hearing a woman's voice, and she's just unhinged regarding that. Yeah. So that's so funny. Phoebe is ready, but then promptly gets hummus spilled on her dress by the boys.
And it's so funny because I didn't remember that, but because I'm like, only Ross and Phoebe are ready. What's going to happen to Phoebe? She can't. Yeah. And then of course the boys are being so stupid, truly a stupid issue with them, but they're fighting over a chair.
But then that becomes a classic bit.
I
think it's probably one of the most iconic parts of the show is when Joey goes and puts on all of Chandler's clothes.
Yep, because
to get back at him.
To get back at him for the chair, and because Joey's commando, I believe. Is this where he says, I'm not going to go commando in another man's fatigues? That was a really funny line about renting a tux and all that. But yeah, he comes out in that memorable shot of him with all of Chandler's layers on because, I guess it was like...
Chandler took the cushions of the chair.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, well, if you're going to take that, I'm going to take all your stuff. Yes. It's
Mhm.
so stupid, but so iconic. Yeah.
Yep.
And then meanwhile, Rachel can't make up her mind.
About what
That's
to wear.
basically her issue, and to the point where
Ross ends
Ross
up freaking out and insulting
snaps.
her.
Yep.
So they
And
fight
then
again.
she doesn't want to go. She comes out in her sweats, which I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie, Mel, that stressed me out the most. I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna
I
and
know.
he's like, oh, what are you doing? So and she's like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna what did she say? I'm gonna work on my correspondence. And she
Yeah.
pulls out like her planner. Yeah, so but then and there's a glass of fat, which is
Oh, yeah.
disgusting. Monica's fat.
Has somebody been drinking my fat?
And they basically get to the point where Ross is like, I'll do anything for you to go to this gala and support me for this work event. And they
Mhm.
all, mostly led by Joey and Chandler, say, oh, well, maybe
You could
you
drink the
should drink
fat.
the fat to show
Mhm.
her. And so they're like, yeah, drink the fat. And he's about to really do it. And it is
Yeah.
so gross. And I love how Phoebe goes, let me get you another glass. That's been sitting out. And he's like, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
But Rachel stops him saying, you were really going to do that for
Oh
me to
my gosh, it was
go?
so funny.
Right? And then maybe the most stressful of it all, Monica accidentally changes as she calls
The
Richard to leave a
outgoing.
voicemail,
Mhm.
she actually changes his outgoing message, his
Yeah.
actual,
Mhm.
voicemail message to this. And oh my God, it's so stressful. Oh my
So
God.
embarrassing, so funny. Actually,
So
from that
embarrassing.
episode, I always think of this line, whenever I'm, like, in the city and it's raining and I'm stuck in the rain, I always think of Ross when
Yes.
he says, "Oh, great, it's raining. That'll make it easier to get a cab." And I always think
Yep.
of that when I'm
Ross,
stuck in the rain.
again, another truly like perfect, realistic New York joke. Like,
Yeah.
yep, great. Now it's gonna get even harder to get where we gotta go, right?
Mhm.
Ross
Mhm.
is so good. David Schwimmer is so good at, I mean, they all are in with sarcastic humor, but he is one of the
Mhm.
best ones with
Yeah.
those kind of angry jokes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So good.
Uh-huh.
So good.
30 seconds, all the questions you can answer.
You guys are dead. I am so good at lightning rounds.
So let's fast forward to season 4. So another popular episode on most of these lists, I should say.
Classic.
It's funny. Now, this title, in my opinion, I wouldn't have called it this because the title is in response to like a B or C storyline for me. But season 4, episode 12, it's called The One with the Embryos. So
Mhm.
embryos because Phoebe is now, Mel, you gotta remind me, you gotta tell me because
Mhm.
my memory, like I said, is
Mhm.
foggy. I can't speak. Um, Giovanni Ribisi
Her
he is
brother.
Phoebe's brother, right? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because he
Like
says the
half brother.
line.
They have the
He
same
says
dad.
the line, "My sister's gonna have my baby."
Yeah.
Now, who is the woman from that '70s show? Is that his
Wife.
um, interesting. And so do they
So
talk
the
about
way
an age
they
difference
Yeah, yeah,
on the
yeah,
show?
yeah.
Okay, okay. All
So
right, good.
that was
Because
his teacher. He was in
oh, okay. Okay, all right, good. Yeah, because I'm like, I remembered him, but I did not remember her. So
Yeah, that's a
jumping
whole
into this
bit.
episode, I was like, "Wait, what's
There,
this? What's going on here?"
I think probably in a previous season, there's an
Yeah,
episode where they get together and he introduces her to Phoebe, and she's
right,
like,
and that's a whole bit.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
So,
figured. Okay.
mhm,
Thank
yes,
you
and
for
that's
catching me
why
up.
they need Phoebe to carry the babies because his wife is so much older.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, of course, that makes sense. And this is a really, I mean, they talk about some really realistic, interesting stuff, but like how the couple paid, I believe it's $16,000 to do this once because it's so
Mhm,
expensive,
mhm.
And Phoebe says the line, which I thought was funny, "Think thick," because her like embryo
Yeah, yeah.
layer,
They need it
the
to be
layer has
thick.
to be thick, right, and all
Yeah.
that. But and now there's only a 25% chance, I believe, of this actually happening. I mean,
And she says,
yeah.
"They're literally putting all their eggs in my basket."
In my basket. Oh, yeah, great, really, and she's talking to the little, petri dish, and
Yeah.
it's
No,
cute,
it's just
but
it's great. Again, it's like the genius of the show. It's such a creative, brilliant way to put in an actor's pregnancy without making the character
yeah,
have a
that's
baby.
true. That's
So
true,
that's why
and
that happened.
fast forwarding to, season 10, especially in the finale, like, you can tell because Courtney Cox has always been so, like, truly skinny that you could so tell that she was pregnant with Coco and that, they were sort of doing the
Mhm.
sitcom way of hiding it with
Yeah,
baggy
yeah, yeah.
shirts and, like,
Mhm,
standing
mhm.
in front of but
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting for sure. But to me, kind of the more memorable, the bigger storyline is the showdown between the guys
Yeah.
and the girls
What makes it a
with
classic episode.
right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This
The
sort of
game.
trivia contest, this
Yeah.
competition of knowing more about each other, right?
So
It's
funny.
Rachel and Monica versus
Mhm.
Chandler and Joey.
How about if we win, they have to get rid of the rooster? Ooh, that's interesting.
The monumental ending of this is why they end up switching apartments for a little
Yeah.
while. Mhm. That's a
Yeah.
big episode.
Because they keep upping the ante, right? It
Yeah.
goes from money and Monica's so competitive, which is so funny. And it goes
Uh-huh.
from like $300 to now like what do they want? The girls, if the girls lose,
They want
guys get
them
their
to
apartment. Oh, if the girls win, they want them to get rid of the rooster, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
the birds that are across the hall that are waking
yeah.
them up. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some really funny quotes in this game. Well, Miss Chanandler Bong
Yeah,
is
I think
on
that's, like, the biggest one. Mhm.
right? The
Yeah,
TV guide.
yeah.
I thought it was funny. Viva's Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
Someone's dad. I
Chandler's,
forget
yep.
Chandler's dad
Mhm.
does that show. Rachel gets a question wrong with what is Chandler's job, and she says transponster, and Monica
Yeah.
screams, "That's not even a word," you know. So
That
some
starts
really
the
good lines.
ongoing joke of no one knows what Chandler's job is. It's like
It's they're all so good. The stress is just so funny, of
it's
course.
so good. Ah,
And it's
yeah.
just funny, the classic boys versus girls and all that. And then it
Mhm.
ends with a really funny line that they both say and have different meanings. "I can't believe we live here," the
Yeah.
guys say, and then the girls say, "I can't believe we live here." Like, just
Yeah.
classic sitcom, right?
Uh-huh. So
So
good.
good. Really funny episode. And I feel like,
Mhm.
everybody, we're at the end, I'm gonna ask Mel a couple trivia questions because I used to work at a trivia job on the side. But I feel like when I would do trivia, especially Friends trivia, like big diehard fans like yourself, they would act like this episode. They would
Mm.
like, bring that kind of energy and
Yeah.
like quote this episode, even when it didn't have anything to do with the trivia questions,
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
this is a big episode for the
Very
show,
yes. Mhm.
right?
If you win, we give up the bird.
Gah!
But if we win, we get your apartment.
Hey, Rewinders, I'm pausing my Friends discussion with Mel for a moment so that my other friends, who are major Friends fans, can chime in with their praise. The more friends, the merrier, right? Here are Nicole Amarca O'Donnell and O.T. Garcia.
Hello, my name is Nicole, and I'm a huge Friends fan, as everyone should be. A huge Friends fan to the point that I'm sitting here looking at my front door, which is like made of pure steel, that I forced my father to drill a peephole into when I moved in, just so I could put the yellow frame from Monica's apartment around the peephole, because that's priority, obviously. Huge fan that I remember, watching the finale live with my best friend, and we had bedazzled tissue boxes like written with the date of the finale so we could just cry our way through it. Huge Friends fan where I had a Friends themed bridal shower. Huge Friends fan to the point where my daughter, my 1.5-year-old daughter, one of the most important things that she's learned from me is to name all of the Friends characters. So, like, again, priorities. I love the show for so many reasons, but I think just seeing how it's held up over time, it's just proof and that we're not wrong in our fandom of the show. I'm still to this day, like, it amazes me how many new things come up for this show, like new pop-ups and like, a company that I follow having new Friends merchandise and things like that. I can't tell you how many baby books I have that are Friends themed. Just, it fascinates me. And I think it just shows like how amazing it is that it's still that popular and just woven through generations the way it is. The list goes on and on.
Hey Mark, it's OT. I'm so excited that you're going to be talking about Friends on the show. It is definitely one of my favorite shows ever. I've seen all the episodes 5 times at least, know them all by heart. And it's one of the shows that if I'm with my friends, I can just say like a phrase or a word even, and they will know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, I really love Ross. Ross is probably my favorite character. I relate with him the most. And I think it's my favorite episode is the pivot episode where they're taking the couch up or down the stairs, and it's hilarious. He screamed, "Pivot, pivot!" And Phoebe is another one of my favorite characters. Her boyfriends are some of the best cameos on the show, in my opinion. She's just like so random and so hilarious. And I can't wait to hear it. Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Here we go. Pivot. Pivot. Pivot.
Cheerleader, dates the quarterback, throws the best parties.
Gosh, hi, rude much?
Editor of the school paper, proud to be single, dares to be different. Two girls on opposite ends of the social ladder.
Why are you barging in here and making a scene? Why aren't you wearing your tiara?
Two girls about to become...
Dad! Mom? We're engaged.
Sisters. Popular.
Also, everybody, I have to celebrate another TV show I love that was also about friends and frenemies that's celebrating its 25th anniversary. Popular from Ryan Murphy premiered on the WB in September 99, and although it only aired for 2 seasons before getting the axe, and was up against Friends there for a season, it was a big favorite of mine, so I just had to shout that one out here, and so did my friends, Carl Muller, Katie Bruno, Jason A. Coombs, and Lauren Evangelista. Here they are with their thoughts.
It definitely exposed many of us to the craziness that is Ryan Murphy.
I remember it being funny, witty, loving all the characters. Mary Cherry for life. Absolutely loved her. She was definitely my favorite. And to this day, I still am so angry about how it ended and that there was never any season following that crazy cliffhanger. So maybe one day, maybe they'll do a reunion show and they'll tell us what happened after the cliffhanger. I don't know. One could only hope. But just had to record that about the cliffhanger and how angry I was. And to this day, I still think about it.
So 25 years ago, the TV show Popular on the WB at the time had such a huge influence on me as a young, inspiring actor and, wannabe writer at the time. I was maybe in 7th grade, I think, when that show started. And I don't know, I just loved the characters. They were so dynamic and so fun and hilarious and, maybe looking back a little problematic in hindsight. But at the time, and still now, they're truly unforgettable. I mean, Mary Cherry, played by the amazing Leslie Grossman, is still an icon to this day. And I will always stand her because of her work as Mary Cherry, who brought me so much joy and laughter in her problematicness. And I love the rivalry between Brooke and Sam. And I always felt like I was more of a Sam person, right? It's more of Sam's world with Harrison and, all her whole gang, really. But I also appreciated and kind of felt bad for Brooke at times because, she was often misunderstood in a way. And my best friend Shannon and I would get our friends together. We would binge watch the DVD of this show, in our college years and post-college years. And that was before binging was like even a thing. So those are some great memories thanks to this show. And this was also my introduction to Ryan Murphy, to his insane and creative world. In the iconic words of Mary Cherry, I'll end with, dirty ho, what you having that baby for? Iconic, indeed.
I just needed to give a shout out and share my love of Popular, because I think I've been talking about Popular with Mark ever since he started the TV blog that I contributed to years ago, and then this podcast, and when he started entertaining talking about TV. Man, I definitely watched like every possible high school, TV show that was out back in the day, but this was definitely my number one of all the shows. I was in middle school and probably, gearing up for high school, so that's probably also part of why it left such an impression on me when it came out. But it was just so smart and so funny. I feel like through the writing and Ryan Murphy's genius on this show. I learned so much about different pop culture references. You know, he had like a Dangerous Liaisons little reference ones. He had those other little themed moments and episodes. I mean, the It's a Wonderful Life Christmas episode still gets me. I still think about that episode. It was such a strong ensemble cast, and they really wove in so many wonderful storylines, and they really handled so many different topics with both humor and a lot of real nuance. And I was so sad that it ended on a cliffhanger.
Decision 2000 at Kennedy High.
I want that crown, and I'll do anything to get it.
The early favorite is not who you'd expect.
Just the thought of that makes my skin crawl.
Now, a fair campaign is out of the question.
Here's $100 a piece.
Popular on the WB Thursday night.
Oh, look, there's Monica and Chandler. Hey! Hey, you guys! Hey!
Season 5, episode 14. This one's big, everyone. This is like some of the biggest quick clips in like a montage of Friends clips. The one where everybody finds out. You remember this one, Mel?
This is probably the best episode. If you have to pick one.
It's definitely
of all
up
time.
there, right? Yeah, like it's with the screaming and all this. So the one where everyone finds
funny.
out about Monica and Chandler, right? With a
I
lot of
probably
window
rewatched
action.
this the most
Yeah.
out of all the episodes because it's just never gets old. It's so funny about the whole like they're playing games on one another.
Yep.
Just Phoebe and Chandler doing this game where they're pretending to be into one another until the other one cracks is just so funny.
And it's
They
Phoebe's
have-
idea to basically get him
Yeah.
to admit that
Mhm.
they're together secretly, you know, dating, right? Doing
Yeah.
laundry, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right?
It's like a big payoff because they do the whole season with Monica and Chandler. They do the whole storyline of them keeping it a secret. So then when it's finally like playing out, it's like a reward to the audience, I feel like.
Yeah.
That okay,
And-
now it's finally out there. Like here's the big present.
Right. Yeah, and it could have been like a finale. I think it's pretty cool that they did this big
Yeah, it definitely
reveal,
could have been a
kind of
finale.
like, you know, like in the middle of the season. Because, you know, this was back in the day
Yeah.
when seasons were 22, 23, 24 episodes. This is only 14.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Mhm.
you know, like this is a big kind of middle of the season
Yeah.
change for everyone, right?
They could have kept going with it a little longer.
Right. Because, yeah, this is when, because of course, Phoebe really, I think, feels like the star of this episode because she's just doing so many funny things. But yeah, she's the one to see Chandler and Monica because she is with Ross and Rachel checking out the ugly man across the way's apartment, right? That they can see. Not everyone knows, you know, like Phoebe's next in line to figure out, but Ross still doesn't know, right? Yeah. So funny. Oh my God. Oh, and I even wrote, that's so funny. We were just talking about hair. I put in parentheses, this is prime Jennifer Aniston / Rachel look for me with the
I
silky
agree.
long hair, right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great length.
Man.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree.
And also going back to Phoebe, I mean the iconic blue dress and then showing her
Oh,
bra because Joey says Chandler gets nervous around bras, right? Like and the dancing, it is
the
really
dancing is so funny.
oh my God, that's up there with like Elaine with Julie Louis-Dreyfus doing her dancing, like that's up there with sitcom dancing. Oh my God!
And Chandler's
right?
like, "You look good."
Yeah. Yep. Oh my God. And then, that's right. I have the line, ugly naked guy's got a naked friend. It's naked Ross. Because Ross is doing anything he
Competing
can.
for the apartment.
Again, very New York, right? To compete with others. He gets muffins, but people have like, you know, they're trying to really get the naked guy to give him the apartment, right? And again, very sexual. Some lines like, I'm very happy we're going to have all the sex. I'm very bendy, you know, but iconically, not only does Chandler break and say, okay, all right, like I can't, you know, have sex with you because not only does he say, you know, I'm seeing Monica, I'm in love with Monica.
It's so sweet.
I got chills, I have to admit. Everyone's just so good at like the reaction, including Monica, who's been hiding, I think, in the bathroom, right? In Chandler's apartment. And then I love you too, Chandler. Oh my God, so cute.
Oh, it's so, I love it. That's why I watch it all the time. I just love that
So
episode.
sweet.
Mhm.
Yes. A great unveiling of everything, right? And then
Yeah.
at the very end, Ross finds out by looking out the window and he
Yeah.
screams, "Get off my sister," right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mom, Dad, Ross smoked pot in college. What?
You are such a tattletale!
Now we have 2 Thanksgiving episodes. We didn't even get a chance to really talk about how Thanksgiving episodes are such a Friends staple. There was pretty much
Mhm.
one every single season. Am I right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
2 Thanksgiving episodes made this kind of best of list. Season 6, episode 9, the one where Ross got high. This is
Mhm.
again with Ross and Monica's parents, right? They're playing a
Yep.
big part in this episode. We have Elle McPherson, who was like such a hot
Oh, I
thing at the
hated her.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always thought, and really anything, but especially on this show, I thought she was kind of boring. Like
I
she
mean, she
really was
can't
just
act.
cast because of her looks. Exactly.
Yeah.
She's very flat, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so Monica hasn't told their parents
Mhm.
about her relationship with Chandler, right? Because they don't really like him because for years they thought he was, getting high and being a bad influence on Ross, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of kind of miscommunication in this one.
Probably what makes this one iconic is Rachel makes the trifle.
I love Jacques Cousteau! I wasn't supposed to put beef in the trifle!
For
Oh
dessert.
my God, Mel, the trifle, the
Yeah.
beef.
Mhm.
And again, a joke that definitely went over my head then, and even a little later, she gets confused. She gets 2 recipes.
Recipes.
She gets them confused for one
Yep.
because the pages are stuck together, and
Mhm.
they say
Oh, yes.
Chandler,
Yeah.
and I guess that's, yeah, like a sexual joke that, is a little vague, but yeah, so
Uh-huh.
kind of, yeah, but that trifle and everyone's acting, starting with Monica, where Rachel's watching them all eat it.
Mhm.
Oh no, you just got that one's just whipped cream. You need to get more of it in there. Oh, okay, like them forcing to eat it, except everyone
Yeah.
hates it except Joey,
I know.
right?
I love Joey being
Oh
like,
my
"What? I
God.
like it."
It is so funny. Oh my God. And then how they're like, "Oh, I left it in the bathroom. I left it in your room." Joey's like, "Nope, got it. I finished that.
Yeah.
I finished it," right? Really good. Yeah, and Ross had thrown it outside and I love how Rachel says, "So a bird just grabbed it?" Which is so funny, Mel. A little weird fun fact. When I was on set years ago on The Bounty Hunter with Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler, I was like an
Oh,
extra
mhm.
that day in Atlantic
Mhm.
City, like just an odd job to make some money. We were on a boardwalk in Atlantic City, I think. Yeah, and I got a slice of pizza and a bird grabbed it right out of my hand. And Jennifer Aniston was just a few feet away and I was like, "Oh my God." And like no one saw it, so I was just standing there
Oh,
like
she
a
didn't see it
weirdo.
either?
You didn't see it. No, they were like talking, but I was like, and I just talked to the nearest person. I remember I was like, "A bird just took pizza out of my hand." And they were like, "Oh," but they didn't see it. So like, "Oh, it did?" Like no one could like commiserate with me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah.
random little connection. But now we'll fast forward the next year, season
Mhm.
8, episode 9, another Thanksgiving episode. And for me, Mel, when I think of Friends, this is up there for me personally. Like
Mhm.
something about Brad Pitt fighting with his then real life wife, like it
Yeah, it was
just like
huge.
was ingrained in my brain. This was a
Yeah.
big episode, a big Thanksgiving episode.
I'm
This
pretty
one's
sure
called
he
the
won an Emmy for that.
He might have, or at least
Mhm.
nominated, because yeah, some out of only their 6 wins, some guest stars did win. I think I saw Bruce
Mhm.
Willis and Christina Applegate, because Christina
Oh.
was one of
Right.
Rachel's
Her
sisters, along
sisters.
with Reese
Yeah, that was
Witherspoon,
great.
right?
Mhm.
Yep. So I know those 2 won. I saw on the list. Yeah, maybe Brad did too, but he is so funny for someone
I
that
know.
doesn't really do a ton of comedy. Like you could
Yeah.
tell he was having a lot of fun. And like I said,
Yeah.
it was just so fun seeing the 2 of them really bicker.
Mhm.
I mean, they like hate each other. But this is called The
Yeah,
One with the
it was great.
Rumor. It's not so it didn't age so well. It's a little
Right.
icky, a little, not a little cringe, but basically it's a Thanksgiving episode. Rachel, everyone's, getting together for Thanksgiving. Now, yeah, Monica and Chandler have been married. I wrote she
Mhm.
invited Will, not Colbert, but Colbert, from high
Mhm.
school, who has lost 150 pounds and
Mhm.
is a babe, Brad Pitt. And like I
Yeah.
said, it was just so fun hearing the laugh track, the scream when he's there at
Yeah.
the door, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And I love how Ross calls him hot stuff when they hug, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Hot stuff?" Like
Mhm.
everyone is just smitten with
Yeah.
Will Colbert, right? To the
Yeah.
point where he's glaring at Rachel. He hates Rachel Green. so much, right? And he's like staring at her, and she says, wow, he's really got that sexy smoldering thing going on. So funny.
Will, I just want to say that I'm real sorry for whatever I did to you in high school.
Oh, it wasn't just me. We had a club.
You had a club?
That's right. The I Hate Rachel Green Club.
We realize that no, he was a co-founder of the I Hate Rachel Green Club in high school, along with who else but Ross. So funny. I love the little, like, he's like saying, this is so typical Rachel. And like does the hair flip. Just iconic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
I said it was typical. Typical of you, Rachel Green. Queen Rachel does whatever she wants in the little Rachel land.
It makes me sad though, kind of, to watch that. Since
I know it is sad because they really were like Barbie and Ken in real life. I mean, that couple was, I mean, in our young lives, that couple was the couple, right?
I know.
So it is sad, but they were really funny together. They're bickering.
Yeah, and part of what makes that episode so funny is kind of being in on the inside joke that like they're actually married in real life. At the time.
Absolutely. Knowing what was going on in real life. Yep, absolutely. It adds to the humor for sure. Yeah. And Phoebe is so enamored with Will. She says, come on, Will, just take off your shirt and tell us. Like everyone just is like staring at him. It's so funny. But yeah, they had started a rumor that Rachel, you were the hermaphrodite cheerleader from Long Island. They started a rumor that she had both male and female parts. So again, has this episode, for how much I love it, it has not aged so well. But and Joey even says, I'm gonna need proof. Like they start not trusting her. Like what is she hiding? So it's a little cringe, but super funny.
Yeah,
I just one of the best sitcom guest stars for me.
Yeah.
The night you've waited for, the biggest night of the year, the final night of Friends.
Au revoir!
The 2-hour Friends finale with surprises at every turn.
I want to be with her. Yeah, I'm going to go after her. Yeah!
Then don't miss your last chance to say goodbye to the entire cast of Friends on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
I have no idea what's going on, but I am excited.
See how it all ends. Friends finale night begins 8/7 Central, NBC Thursday.
So yeah, let's fast forward everybody to season 10, the last episode. It just turned 20 years old, of course, since the show is 30 years old. But so this one, a two-parter, much like many other finales, it's called The Last One. Simple. This was, and it's funny because, like I was saying, most seasons had anywhere between typically 20 to 24 episodes. This final season only had 18 episodes, maybe because they all were making $1 million and just budgetary, and also maybe because of Courtney's pregnancy. I don't know, but it's a little bit shorter than the rest. I remember, Mel, now why weren't you there? We had a watch party.
I think I wanted to watch it alone.
I think I guess you were like, you know what? Yeah, I feel like you said, no, this is a special show for me. I need to watch it alone. No distractions, which completely understand. I was at our friend Tamara's house. Me, Tamara, Liz, and was it Sarah? There were 4 of us, I think, because the 4 of us were in a chemistry class together. So it might have been Sarah. I can't remember, sadly, which is crazy. But I remember it was me, Tam, and Liz.
We'll have to ask her.
We have to ask her. We even made T-shirts. We wrote, I don't know, goodbye friends. I don't know. And again, I kind of felt, I love the show, but I didn't know every single episode. So I even kind of felt like this is a little crazy, but this show was a big deal. So the ending was a big deal. So Mel, do you want to tell us a little bit about your memories of what's going on in the finale? I mean, the big Paris thing.
It makes me sad. I don't really watch this part too often, but I do think it's a great ending for a long running series. I love that Chandler and Monica are getting their babies. We're surprised to see that they end up with twins, which is amazing.
That's a big reveal.
There's some great bits with that, and they're going to move out to the suburbs. That all makes sense.
The quote, a great line they say, which is so funny because we did a "What would you do" of this scenario. I guess it was inspired by Friends. I don't know, but I think Chandler says, "We only ordered one," right? Because they're shocked to have another one coming along, a girl, right? They have a boy and a girl. Yep. I forget. Are they moving to New Jersey? Do they tell us? To Westchester, of course. How funny. Like all the cool kids do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a great ending. And then Ross and Rachel end up together after a big dramatic thing where
Oh
she
my
might move to Paris.
Yes, the airport. And it's nice to see Phoebe play such a important
Mhm.
role in this one. I forgot that she has her cab and is rushing Ross to the
Right.
airport, and Mel. Even last night when I was rewatching it, my heart sunk. They call Monica to figure out why is Paris not on the list of
Mhm.
flights. Oh, Rachel's flying out of Newark, and they're like, "Oh, we're
Mm.
at JFK."
Mhm.
Which another little connection to me, back when I worked at the Nate Berkus show, I accidentally sent a driver to take the guests to the wrong airport, and they got there, and luckily they were able to turn around and get to the real airport, but they called their producer, and their producer called me, and they're like, "Why did you send them?" And I'm like, "It must have been the driver's fault. The driver should have
Oh
known."
god.
'Cause the driver technically did know where to go, but I had said to him as they were leaving, I said, "Yeah, they're going to
Oops.
Newark or whatever," and he's like, "Okay." Oh, cringe, and the way I
Yeah,
lied
that's
to get
rough.
out of it. I was like, "No, yeah, we gotta talk to the car service." Oh my god.
That is so rough.
Anyway, so personal
Yeah,
connection, but
you've been there.
the great airport drama. Oh my god, and
Mhm.
also, I gotta just quickly shout out, great writing to get Rachel off the plane
Mhm.
because Phoebe calls her from her cell as they're driving crazily in New York City, right? And, she says, "There's something wrong with the left phalange," right? That was
Uh-huh.
the big thing, and then the guy next to Rachel is hearing the conversation, and how funny, he went on to be in Community. I think his name's Jim Rash. I think he won an
Mm.
Oscar for
Oh,
that
wow.
George Clooney movie, Descendants,
Mm.
for writing it, but, he starts freaking out, so everyone's freaking out about the phalange, everyone has to get off the plane, so how perfect then for her to get off, and then Ross is
Yeah.
there with Phoebe. A lot of,
Yep.
like, emotional roller coaster stuff in this
Mhm.
one, right? Yeah,
No, it's a
really
great
good.
ending. Yeah, I think I love even Phoebe has her relationship with Mike. They're gonna start a family.
Paul Rudd, and it's so funny, Paul Rudd looks better now than he did then. Isn't that
Yeah.
wild?
He
Yeah.
was a great addition, and I saw him say like with the finale, he was kind
Mhm.
of like, "Why am I here?"
Wow, and it's so funny, I was saying that, like, wow, like, him and, like, Anna Faris, like, pretty I important to, like, have.
Like, I think he's in the is he in the final scene when they're walking out of the apartment?
No, he's not in
Okay.
that. No,
Okay.
that's just the 6 and the babies.
Mhm.
But no, but he's there when Rachel's saying goodbye to everyone, and you
Mhm.
can kinda see, 'cause I was looking at him 'cause I'm like, "Wow, you're in, like, a pivotal scene." He's kind of in the back, like, not re he's, like, looking around, like, he looks nervous. He's like, "I should step aside,"
Yeah.
right?
He was
So
saying like, "I just felt like I shouldn't be there, like,
yeah, yeah.
this
I
big
could I
finale."
totally makes sense. I feel like I'd feel the same way, 'cause, I mean,
Yeah.
you're with
They're so
these
tight-knit
6
and
icons,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but even when Ross and Rachel are together, says, "No, no, I have to go." But
Yeah.
then another fun voicemail moment. Ross
Mhm,
goes
mhm.
home. I guess he didn't have a cell phone at the time. So Ross
Mm.
goes home, plays his message,
Mhm.
and Mel, this reveal, again, a laugh track, a audience track moment that, like, I'm
Reaction,
happy is
mhm.
in there. Um, she's saying, "Oh my god, what am I doing? Like, I'm so in love with you, blah blah blah. I should have got off the plane. I'm gonna get off the plane." And then you can hear her talking to, like, the flight attendants. "No, ma'am, you can't get off the plane." It stops, and Ross shouts, "Did she get off the plane?"
Yeah.
I got off the plane.
I got
I
off the
got off the
plane.
plane.
Oh my god, and the camera moves over. Oh, I mean,
It's
just
great ending, yeah.
it's great. It's so
Mhm.
great. So, and then we
Wow.
have the empty apartment scene with everyone, and
Yeah,
then
so
should we
so
get some
sad, and then,
coffee? Right? And
that
they
was
all
actually
walk out
a
together.
improv line,
Oh, really?
Matthew Perry, mhm,
Was
where
it when
he
he says,
says, "Yeah, where should we
"Sure,
go?"
where?" Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
love
everyone's
that.
reaction was like
Is authentic.
and they're like, "Ugh."
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
this episode definitely, showing the empty apartment and breaking the foosball table, another, like, pretty
Mm.
iconic long running,
Mhm.
prop. The show definitely
Yeah.
was saying
Mhm.
goodbye, like,
Yeah.
Hey, do you realize that at one time or another we all lived in this apartment? Oh, yeah, that's true.
I haven't.
Wait a minute, what about that summer during college that you lived with Grandma and you tried to make it as a dancer?
Do you realize we almost made it 10 years without that coming up?
I think it's really hard to make a satisfying finale of a
Yeah.
TV show.
Yeah. Mhm.
and they definitely did. It kind of makes sense for the character, but how Matt LeBlanc was getting
Mhm.
his spinoff, so they didn't really like close him out.
Right. Yep.
So that kind of is a loose thread in hindsight. But
Yeah, that's
again, it's
true.
kind of like that character. It makes
That's
sense
a
for
good
him
point.
anyway that his life would kind of,
Yeah,
not really be
kinda just
changing that much.
Yep, yep, that's a really good point, really interesting observation. Because yeah, by the time this finale aired in early May 2004, yeah, it was already announced that
Yeah.
Matt LeBlanc, they all knew, like, "Okay, it's gonna continue with Joey," to then start, September of 2004, just a few months later, so
Uh-huh.
you're right, they probably purposely were like, "Alright, no need to, tie everything up
Mhm.
with him, we'll explore that," but then as we all know, Joey was not great. It was I was surprised. I forgot that it was 2 seasons because I didn't
Oh,
really
it
watch
was.
it. Did you watch it at all?
Not beyond a couple episodes, no.
Right, same. It was a very popular, premiere, of course.
Uh-huh.
It went down to, like, 7,000,000 viewers, so
Mhm.
American Idol was, like, beating it, so it was
Yeah.
apparently the lowest rated NBC primetime show, so
Yikes. What a way to
yeah,
go
poor
out.
Joey. I know, it's a bummer. So I wonder if I assumed Matt LeBlanc maybe regrets it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean,
it
he probably
it
made some good money. You had to
made some
try.
good money.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, it makes sense to try. Maybe it would have been better if it was a side character and not at all any of our 6 leads, you know?
I think it's just a hard show when
Yeah.
it's all of them that made it special, not just one. And I think
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
Joey's spinoff is proof of what the magic of Friends is.
And I was looking at it. I know David Schwimmer directed a couple episodes of Joey, but it is interesting how none of the main 5, with Joey, none of them ever went on Joey's show. Maybe that
Yeah,
was
very
maybe that was the
interesting.
key to getting, if like
Mhm.
Chandler pops in or, I
Mhm.
don't know, Phoebe's
Yes,
visiting,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I can understand why they wouldn't wanna come back because it's like, "No, no, no, what we had was special," and as we were saying, they
Yeah.
were very much a unit with their pay and with
Mhm.
level of lines, like you were saying, so, yeah, risk, and I guess it didn't really pay off, but hey, better 2 seasons than 1, right? Some
Yeah.
shows only get a few episodes and then they're canceled,
I
so
mean, luckily he ended up having success post Friends,
yep,
so we
mhm,
can't feel too
mhm.
bad for him.
For years, Joey struggled to make it as a serious actor, taking roles that never quite took off. But Thursday, that's all about to change. Be there when Joey becomes a movie star on the season premiere. Thursday, 8, 7 Central on NBC.
The order of the actors who were cast, David Schwimmer was first, and they basically, you might know this, they kinda, like, had him in mind for Ross because I guess they worked with him or knew
Oh,
of
like when they
him.
were writing Ross?
Yep, when they were
Oh.
writing the character, they already kinda knew him from a
Mhm.
previous show that he was doing, and he was, like, so not interested in TV anymore. He wanted to go back and just stick with theater, but they were like, "No,
Uh-huh.
like, we basically kinda wrote this with your voice in mind, like, you," and they, like, remembered his, like, puppy dog expression. They're like, "No, you are
Uh-huh.
Ross." So it's so interesting. He was the very first one cast, followed by Lisa Kudrow, who apparently just nailed the audition, and they were like, "Oh my god, she got it." So those were the first 2, and then the rest took a while,
Mhm.
as which makes sense for some of these major casting calls. The last one to be booked was, the last guy was Matthew Perry. They said
Right.
Chandler was actually a really hard role to cast, even though it
Mhm.
seemed so easy, and the very
Mhm.
last person was, Jennifer Aniston to get
Yeah, I
cast.
remember hearing that, Courtney Cox, I think, was originally they were thinking of her
Mhm.
for Rachel at
Right,
first.
mhm. I
Mhm.
I think you're right, and I think she had said to them, "I really see myself more as, like, a Monica, could I,
Yeah,
like, try
yeah,
out for
yeah.
her?" So that's
Yeah.
so funny, and that happens a lot
Uh-huh.
because even, like, that's happened on Buffy, like, Sarah Michelle Gellar was not up for Buffy at first,
Oh,
and then
wow.
yeah, she was up for Cordelia, Charisma Carpenter's role, and then she's like, "Could I try this?"
Oh.
And she had to re-audition a bunch of times for Buff
Oh,
she auditioned
wow.
for that
That's
show
pretty
apparently,
cool.
like 10 times. Yeah, so they
Wow,
were
I did
not
not know
seeing
that.
her. Yeah, so it's pretty funny how that does happen often where, like, you're only really seen as that one role, but then you end up getting another role that's, like, a perfect match for you, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. They were saying I was watching a little bit more of that reunion on Max, that they were saying that In the Wrong Hands, which is true, I never really thought about it, In the Wrong Hands, played by the wrong person, Rachel could really be unlikable because she is
Yeah.
kind of self-centered.
Not the nicest.
Not the nicest. And like we know from what we were talking about, like not nice in her past as a high school
Uh-huh.
mean girl, right? So like, you know, you kind of had to find someone who you still wanted to be around. So that is
Yeah.
tricky. It's funny. Speaking of the finale, and I had you on the show for the Sex and the City
Uh-huh.
anniversary, and we talked about that finale. How funny, you know, with Rachel flying to Paris and everything, much
Oh,
like
yeah.
Carrie. So this was
Right.
definitely the time when like, and it's so funny because I was saying that to Greg when I was rewatching the finale, and he was watching that with me. And it's really interesting. 20 years ago, we weren't traveling as much as we are now, which is funny to think because it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, we were, but like travel, you know, now is, and especially with social media, like
Yeah, exactly.
right, you can go to anywhere.
Mhm.
So back then it felt so final, like, oh, I'm moving to Paris. Oh my God, we're never
Right.
going to see you again. Now it's
Right,
like,
right,
all right,
right.
see you in like 2 months when I'm home for like a week, right?
Yeah.
So it is funny to kind of think of that mindset 20 years ago, you know?
Right, like, if it
So
was made today, would that have been the
would that have been
big
so right?
dramatic moment? Probably not. I mean, probably use something else, not moving to
Yeah,
Paris, yeah.
right? It would have to be like, I don't know. I mean, it would still feel
Like
final,
getting
like,
married to
oh,
somebody else or something.
right, right. Like getting
Mhm.
married and living in Paris and being in a different time zone and like working a lot, or so. It has to be more than just like, I'm moving, you know,
Yeah.
because FaceTime, like, all right, well, then I'll talk to you tomorrow, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, it's just interesting how now that doesn't hold its weight like it used to, you know?
Right, that's a great point.
And that's all the time we have. If you're not ready to end the Friends celebration just yet, you're in luck because part 2 of this conversation is on the Release Date Rewind YouTube page where I ask friend connoisseur Melissa Ward trivia questions. Are you
Yeah,
ready?
let's see. Yeah. I'm curious,
Okay,
let's see.
I'm excited. Okay, here we go.
Mhm.
Number 1, in the one with the Yeti, when Ross was going to move into a new apartment with Emily, who took his old furniture? Thanks, Mel, for being a great guest again and a great friend. And thank all of you for listening to or watching this episode. If you haven't already, please leave a rating or a review, a thumbs up on YouTube, and please tell your friends about the show. Follow me on Instagram at Release Date Rewind to see clips of our conversation, footage from the show, and more trivia, of course. Thanks Straw Hut Media, Kyle Motzinger, Greg Clements, and Portland Media Center. On the next episode, everybody, we are taking a trip to Sleepy Hollow, just in time for Halloween. Ooh. Bye.